Hello, wildlings. I'm your Creepsmith, and you found my Fear Forge. Lucky you. Tonight's foundling fable. My wife and I found an active telegraph behind a wall. By IamHowardMoxley. This was our first house. It was an old one that needed a lot of work, but young Tommy and Diane still had lofty ideas. We decided to remove a useless closet-sized library to make one master den, which required us tearing out a first-story wall. Our hammers went right through the wallpapered plaster and wood on the first swing, through a wall that looked like it was slapped up in a hurry. Sitting in the center of the bare room, on a stick-legged table, was a bright brass box, a small, polished wheel that reminded me of an old-fashioned film reel, and ticking, moving finger lever. This was a telegraph from the 19th century. Its single cord cut and dangling halfway down the table in the dusty, paintless room. The telegraph was still, clearly, clacking out a message. Now, my wife and I are technicians, scientists by trade and by nature. We both concluded that the sensitive equipment was picking up a strong enough electromagnetic field that it could explain why our digital cameras were bricked after getting close enough to try and get a shot. Diane and I tried to move the telegraph to find that it was fused to the table, and that the table might as well have been made from titanium rooted to the core of the earth. My wife pointed to the floor under the table. Handmade tiles, decades, maybe centuries older than the house itself. We began to explore the 10 by 10 room, where we found some kind of foundation showing through the tiles and the wood. It wasn't concrete. Was a kind of granite, ornately carved with spirals and interlocking fractals. My wife calculated that 15,000 years would have been needed to erode that block of stone. I believed her. One of Diane's PhDs was, in fact, in geology. We went downtown to do some research after that. Most of the other property records in town took up a tenth of a 3-ring binder at the Department of Development. Our property had its own 3-inch binder. It was once the first structure in town. A bank, which spawned the rest of the town around it in 1880. This bank became a bar, a school, a theater, restaurant, feed store, and a dozen other entries before becoming our home. No matter the structure, there was always one room that never changed, the room in the very center of the building, which would remain constant as we flipped through the hundreds of other layout drawings. The telegraph room never moved. Diane suggested that we learn Morse code to at least determine if it is code, gibberish, or a clear message. Learning the archaic code was, for both of us, harder than it looked, and it required 3 nights of poring over our guides and training our ears to distinguish the faintly different sounds. On the 4th night, I began to hear a pattern. It took me a little bit of time to find the letters and space them out properly. My wife began to check and confirmed what I'd gotten from the machine. Hello, Tom and Diane. She begged me to get out with her, fearing that the people who built around it died. Fearing that that's why the house was so cheap, why it was walled up in the first place. I tried to remain calm, scientific, said that I would have to remain to test this, that it was fascinating. She slapped the glasses right off my face and told me she'd rip my arm out of my goddamn socket if I didn't leave with her now. This was a threat in spirit only. She was a third my size. But she was desperate. That was our first fight. That was the last time we ever spoke or touched. She left me with this machine, this wondrous machine that wanted a simple favor done for it. I tapped back that I wanted tomorrow's 6 Powerball numbers and promised to do what it wanted, for me to drain the oil out of a stranger's car if the numbers came up 3, 8, 11, 21, 33, 38, and 5. I am now in possession of a lottery ticket worth $96 million, but just the thought of money has weakened me. I don't even have the courage to cash it. The Telegraph poked a giant hole into my logical, rational universe, and I live in that peaceful calm before the storm, within the inevitable collapse. Now I have to go and change this stranger's destiny for reasons that only the Telegraph knows. I don't know what happens after I do this. Only the Telegraph knows. Only. So stay scary, wildlings, and make the most of your nights.